Welcome to the basement. One of the most important and contested movements in modern thought, modern feminism is a dynamic and multifaceted adaptive movement that continues to evolve.
Welcome, all first and last time listeners to the Basement Podcast. We have today, four to the head, Dez. Say what's up.
What it do?
What it do? And we have two, possibly three special guests. So I would like to first and foremost welcome two of my university colleagues, friends, acquaintances. I don't know if we're friends really, but friends nonetheless. So I will start with Bianca. Bianca, say what's up.
Hey, what's up?
Great. And Tashelle.
Hi, how you guys? Hi.
Yeah, you saying guys, but like I guarantee you, we're only on episode 3. There are probably like 10 listeners in total, but it's fine. All right. So just before we get straight into the topic of discussion, how's everyone feeling this week? It's 2021 is only like I think what like officially like a week and 1 day in now, but it seems like the craziest shit has happened, and I'm having a hard time trying to process it, bro.
Yeah, I mean, like 2021 straight into lockdown. Well, what can you do? Might as well get on the basement. You know, we're going digital now. That's how we do.
Fully digital, fully on Zoom. Yeah, yo. I just want to know what people's like, what the temperature is. How do people feel about like the Trump supporters storming the Capitol building? Because that shit was crazy.
I honestly couldn't believe it. I was like, no, not again, not this, no. It's only like 5 days into 2021 and this is happening. Yeah, it was very infuriating, to say the least.
The least. Hey. Yeah, all right.
It was stupid, I think. It was just silly. It was just kind of, I just felt as though they were being childish because the reasons for them doing it was because as they believe the election was rigged or it's not finished or whatever. It was just childish. It was silly. It was just like there was no evidence of nothing. They just wanted to do something, I guess. But it was pointless.
Yeah, I agree completely. But like at the same time, I saw it happen, and then I was just like, this is just the most American thing ever. And then like, what got to me was when I saw the Confederate flag inside the Capitol Hill. I was just like, well, this is not okay. I mean, that's basically a white supremacy flag inside a Capitol building. Like, what the hell, bro?
Bro, it's disrespectful. I think the funniest thing I saw though was like there was the one guy who stole the podium, and because they tagged the image via Getty from like via Getty Images, the guy's name became via Getty. Like literally online, everyone was like, "Yo, via Getty."
That is bad.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, so we are on to the first topic of the day. All right. We are discussing the discourse of feminism. Fun times, exciting times. I have actually kind of hyped for this topic. I'm not necessarily sure how everyone else is feeling. Des might be feeling a certain type of way about it because if you listen to anything he said in episode 1 and 2, and also I know about some of the things he said that we had to remove from the podcast, Des might not be feeling the most feminist right now, but that is what that is.
Yeah, I'm ready to learn. Getting ready to be educated on feminism, you know, because, you know, it's always a good thing to hear what people have to say about things you don't really get to understand. So yeah, let's get down to it.
All right, perfect. So let's just start with the first note on the discussion sheet. We just want to know exactly what feminism is. Ladies, please educate us. We are uneducated fools and we know nothing.
Can I be heard? I don't know.
You know,
Hi.
we got you. We got you.
Oh, to me, I would say feminism is the belief that both men and women should be treated equal within society in all, rights of everything, all walks of life and stuff. So yeah, that's what it is to me.
All right, Bianca.
To me, feminism is, well, there's a lot of definitions, and there's obviously a lot of different forms of feminism that exist in our modern world. But I think for me, it's sort of seeking equality between the genders and not seeing one as inferior or the other as superior. That's what it is for me.
Mm-hmm. You said something about different forms. So is there a specific type of feminism that you don't get behind or that you get behind?
I would say that I haven't really found, like, I'm not going to identify with a specific form, if that makes sense, because a lot of them have things that maybe I don't agree with, or there are things that I do agree with. I personally, at the minute, don't identify with a certain form just because there are so many. I would say I have opinions about what parts of feminism I agree with and what parts I don't really quite agree with.
Mm-hmm. So would you say that you are a feminist, or you just agree with some aspects of it?
I would say that yes, I am a feminist, but that doesn't necessarily, again, mean that I sort of agree or comply with everything that feminism sort of is.
Okay, this is kind of refreshing because like there's this stereotype that feminists are all like so anal about everything, equal pay, everything, like everything about feminism is just so in your face, Like I guess it's quite laid back, maybe.
I feel like people that say that about feminism, about it being, in your face and stuff, are quite uneducated, I would say, on the different types of feminism, like Bianca said, because those feminists that I would say are like in your face, I would say they're quite radical compared to, other forms of feminism.
All right, guys. Teresa put her hand up. Teresa, floor is yours.
Right, but I think that we need to kind of just, for the sake of this discussion, I think we just need to understand that, feminism is just a movement that just promised a new and different opportunity, I guess, for women to be heard and treated with mutual respect. I think that's what it all boils down to.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So now we gotta ask the important question because, like, I don't know. I didn't really like. Okay. Let me just start by telling a quick story. Just like I think I mentioned this to you guys off air. Like feminism for different races is different, right? Like so black female feminism and white female feminism are like completely like are like two separate things. And I remember one of the other guests I was talking to said, yo, we can't have two white women talking about feminism because they're like not covering the full aspect of it. To what extent would you guys say that that's true?
Hi. I agree with that completely because I will agree white feminism is not the same as black feminism because to be a woman is not the same as being a black woman because there are, different challenges that come with with being black as opposed to being white. So obviously, yeah, I would agree the feminisms are completely different because black feminism is rooted in feminism based on race or around race. So yeah.
I
All
think
right.
that when feminism was first introduced, it was mainly targeted towards white women because at that time, constitutionalized slavery was still happening. Black women were fighting two different struggles. It's completely different. Black women were only incorporated in like the 1990s. So
All right. Bianca, how'd you feel about this?
Well, I would definitely agree with what Tashelle said as well about like they're definitely two very different sort of there are two very different perspectives that need to be addressed in order for it to be like a fully full and very rich understanding of it. You can't just look at one side, in my opinion.
I also have something else because Teresa, is it? Am I saying that right? Teresa.
Yeah, you're right.
You said it was incorporated in the 1990s, but Black feminism, I feel like existed long before then. I feel like it
It
was more
did.
recognized probably later on, but it always was a thing. I feel like maybe quite silenced and compared to like mainstream white feminism, but yeah, it was always present. But yeah, that was it.
I think that it started to gain more attention in the 1990s, is what I meant, but it definitely existed way before that. Sojourner Truth, one of the first Black feminists to like come out and actually speak up for women. That was like in the 1850s. So it definitely dated way before the 1990s.
All right. So just to quickly move the conversation on, because we could probably talk about what exactly feminism is for a while, right? What are we getting wrong? What are men getting wrong? What is Des getting wrong specifically?
Yeah, that's a good question. Because like
Yeah.
I feel like there's some things that I say, like that if I think about it really, it's not right. Because like it's kind of sexist. So I guess what do men do that's like not correct?
But I feel like that's a question that only you can answer. What do you do that you think is not correct? Because that is that is quite, I would say, loaded. Like, what do I do? What am I doing wrong? No, what do you think you're doing wrong?
Can I give a
Or
personal
why do you
example?
think it's wrong?
I
Yeah,
agree.
Can I give an example?
yeah, go
Sure.
ahead.
Okay, so I just want to start by saying I don't think that I'm like sexist, right? But I won't lie. There was, I think, I'm not, I'm low key gonna snitch on Tashelle a little bit, right? But it's not really snitching, I promise, right? But there was one time we were having a conversation, right? And we were discussing essentially cosmetics and aesthetics. And I remember I said it about one girl in our seminar, and I was like, yo, I don't like how she wears her makeup a certain way because I just don't think it's pretty at all. And then I didn't think about that. Like at first, when I heard that, I didn't think it was a sexist comment, right? But then you pointed out to me and you were like, hey, you're kind of impeding on what she wants to do, right? Because you're saying that she can't like act a certain way in public or she can't portray herself a certain way in public. It's her beauty. But the patriarchy and like the oppression of how I feel about how she looks is what is like the subtle ways of how sexism like enforces itself into like its day to day. Because if we're talking about like the obvious things, we all know that like it's a patriarchal society, women are oppressed, right? There's absolutely no doubt about it. It goes on to this day, like y'all get paid less. But like we're just trying to say, like, okay, if we're allies as men, right? How do we kind of avoid the subtle things that might get you like, shouted at on like a social media platform or like barked at like in a general sense because you're doing something that you don't fully recognize as sexist or patriarchal.
Well, okay. I actually had a question about the example you gave. What you said that you didn't like her makeup. Is that correct?
I
Or
said,
you said that she looked ugly or something?
okay, I like the original idea was that I was like I think she looks pretty enough without makeup, and I was like the makeup kind of like it makes like I look at her and I feel like that's kind of ugly, that's kind of unnecessary. Like I was looking at her face and it reminded me that like the it reminded me of like icing sugar on top of a cake. It was just like it was super white. It was so strong. I could definitively see the difference between the rest of her body and her face. I was like, nah, this is not doing it for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was like the issue. It's not that I was saying like she was ugly or anything. I was just like, I think the way the makeup was done was what got on my nerves. Anyway, Tashelle, you were saying?
Um, yeah. So I believe everyone is entitled to an opinion, as they are. However, as a man, the problem I had with your statement is that you said it. You said it like outwardly. You said it. Was it to her or around her or something that she heard or something? I don't know. But you said it. As a man, I don't think it's necessarily right or even necessary for you to project your opinions on like women's looks in terms of that. Because makeup, I would say, is quite a it's kind of delicate. You don't know why people wear makeup. Could be for beauty, could be, as cover-ups, but you don't necessarily know why. And as a man, men don't primarily wear makeup a lot. They don't. And you who, don't understand what her situation is, and then you say that, it's just a bit like, but don't, because it's not necessary for you to say. Like you're not entitled, or you don't have to have an opinion on her look, because you're not like someone significant to her. You're literally just a man coming to her and be like, "Raw, you look ugly," and it wasn't necessary. That's what I think.
All right. 100% not wrong. Bianca, then Teresa.
So I have a question for you, Tunde, regarding this comment. What were you expecting to get out of the comment you made, even if it was like an impulsive comment? Like, what did you want to sort of hear in response?
So this is going to be great for harking back to subtle sexism. I think what I was expecting was that someone would probably, all right, I was expecting when I was asking Tishelle, maybe Tishelle would have agreed with me, right? Like she was like, oh, maybe her makeup is like a little bit too much. But then of course Tishelle, rightfully so, like cut my head off, and I fully deserved it. So yeah, yeah, that was a learning moment, because I really sat down and I thought, oh shit, like this, like if I had that same discussion with guys, it wasn't going to be that big of a deal, right? But because I had the discussion with Tishelle, I suddenly started to realize the subtleties of the sexism in it. It was like I had the locker room talk outside of the locker, and now I realize why the locker room talk is inside of the locker room, right? If that makes sense.
Right. Okay. And then my second question is like, for both of the guys, is like, why, like, what do you think the purpose of makeup is? Like, why do you think girls wear makeup? Because I know guys have very different opinions about that. So I'm just curious about your opinion.
Okay, my opinion on makeup. I've got an older sister, right? And she loves to wear makeup. Like when she leaves the house. It's quite annoying because like she takes the time doing it. So like every time we go out, we're late and everything. But that's besides the point. Okay. So from what I've noticed, she wears makeup, because she says she can't leave the house without makeup, right? Which I don't really get, because like sometimes I just leave the house in whatever I'm wearing, because like it's calm and everything. But like for her, it's such a big deal. So I guess like I've come to understand that women, like, I don't know, they care about appearances more than guys. So like they're just doing it because like they just feel like they want to wear makeup. They want to look good. I don't know. That's what I've gotten.
Okay.
I'm just going to say mine quickly because Teresa also had a question to ask, and we need to move on. So I'm just going to quickly say that I've never been a big person on makeup in general. I always thought makeup was for special occasions. I feel like makeup is somewhat deceitful, but that's just my opinion. Yeah. I know. I'm going to get killed for this. I feel like makeup on a day-to-day basis is somewhat deceitful. But
Preach.
it's not I'm not the one who puts makeup on. Makeup is not designed for me. Bianca, quickly, just to get back to you, and then Teresa, and then we have to move on.
Yeah, it's interesting you guys both say that. You bring up this idea of like the catfish kind of issue, which I think often can be, quite offensive to some girls, because for some girls they do it as like an art form, right? Some girls do a lot of makeup on their faces because it's like they find it pleasing, and they experiment with different styles. But that's a whole other topic. But anyways, another interesting topic that we don't probably have time to talk about is like when men wear makeup to, for example,
Men wear makeup.
to cover up flaws on their face. And I know that's often something that sort of guys can bully the other guy about that. And I wonder why that is. But yeah, that's a totally different topic. So yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'll definitely bully someone for that. That's some foo-foo shit right there. That is, wow. But that's just an opinion. I mean, wow. Guys wear makeup. Jeez.
Des, I'm using my one interruption. We have to let Teresa speak.
Okay.
Well, my question just goes back to Des. I remember at the beginning you said that your beliefs and opinions were quite different from the average feminist. So I just wanted to ask you to elaborate on that. I remember at the beginning of the podcast you saying that your beliefs and opinions differ from the average feminist. I wanted to ask you to elaborate.
On my beliefs?
Yeah.
Okay. My beliefs that differ from feminism. Okay. I believe that feminism is killing chivalry. Like, it's just the subtle things that like kill chivalry. Like, my sister, self-proclaimed feminist, right? She, like, every time I try to do something to help her, like as a favor, right, she'll say that I'm projecting gender roles, right, and that it's not right. But like, that's not how I was brought up by our parents. Like, I was raised to like help everyone, every woman that I meet. You know what I mean? Like, it's just the polite thing to do. So if I open a door for her, if I carry something heavy for her, if I say, okay, let me do this, you just go and do that. Like, she like makes the face. But at the same time, like, I don't think what I'm doing is wrong. I'm just trying to help, you know?
Okay, this is a perfect segue. So just to quickly touch on the point, so you guys have actually come at us, which I'm not gonna lie, I kind of like. We do deserve to be put on. We do deserve to be put on trial because, if it's a patriarchal society and we are men, we are essentially perpetrators of sexism. So my question to y'all is now, how should men, stand with feminism, but not kind of like, let's say like in a way that's not canny. Like, what are the adjustments that we're supposed to make in our like daily lives to kind of like see and recognize like, the sexist things that we do? Because like in Dez's case, it's like, doing like he's just trying to do the right thing all the time, right? He's just trying to be polite, but because we don't fully understand the mechanisms of it, right? We project things onto others that we don't realize. So I just want to know from all three of you guys, how do we stand with like, women, and how do we stand with feminism?
Exactly. And like, do you think what I'm doing is wrong?
Well, I mean, when looking at men's participation, in, I guess, gender justice movements, I think that it's really important because you guys already have the upper hand. You guys already, like, I guess, glorified in society. Some forms of participation could include taking action online to defend women's rights, supporting national and local campaigns, opposing violence against women, raising awareness about sexism, and having more discussions like this.
I agree, and I also think how you could do more. Is that what you said, Tunde? Do more for feminism?
Like, I don't think men can do more for feminism aside from just, not be dickheads. But, like, how do we stand with it? Like, how do we, like, show that we're in support?
I think.
How is one not a dickhead?
Exactly.
How is one not a dickhead? How is one not a dickhead? Because I feel like how you're a dickhead is how you address women in private. which is an entirely different topic. But I would say how you would do what Tunde said is show openly that you're a feminist, because that is kind of like, oh, he supports women's rights. Well, that's interesting, isn't it? I can talk to Tunde about shit like this because he is supportive of, you know, we are all equal type stuff. But how to not be a dickhead, I feel like that is a topic in itself. That is really up to you and you kind of learning, educating yourself on kind of who women are, because I feel like men feel like women are so different from them that they have to be, you know, treated differently or spoken to differently. But I don't think that's necessarily the case. And I do agree that some women are quite sensitive when it comes to certain, I wouldn't say chivalrous acts, I wouldn't say it's chivalry, but certain acts. But I don't know. I would say you'd have to do your research on how to approach women, different kinds of women, or just learn from, you know, experience, learn from watching.
Okay, but for you personally, do you think what I'm doing is wrong?
In terms of your sister?
Yeah.
Well, from what you said, your sister is quite an independent woman. So it's not wrong. It's not necessarily wrong. But she's independent, so allow her to be. Like if she said to you, like she, you know, wants to do that, then let her do that, because then you thinking, oh, like, oh, it's killing my chivalry. I don't care. Like, we do not care, like, about your chivalry. You know, if at first you don't succeed, try again. And if, you know, it didn't work, then stop. Try with someone else, because maybe she's not the one. She's like clearly very independent. She's not the one to try that on.
This is starting to sound like dating advice and not Dez's sister.
No, it's not. No,
it really is.
No, it's not. As in, it's not, because she's not the like woman that will accept that. And even with dating as well, you might find women that won't accept that, and you kind of have to adapt with that or to that. But I don't think it's a. I don't think you're necessarily doing anything wrong. But if
okay, good, because like Okay, sorry, go on.
No, go ahead. I'm finished.
Okay, I was gonna say, like, that's good, because like if you were to advise me against it, then I would just turn into a dickhead. Because like if you don't treat women right, I don't think you're doing the right thing. You're being a dickhead. I mean.
And he's saving face. All right, Bianca.
Yeah, from what Dez was just speaking about, I don't think there's anything wrong with you trying to like help your sister, but I guess what women are more sensitive to, the more independent women are sensitive to the fact that when you try to seem heroic or try to sort of save them from something, and that sometimes might be the reason why they're, you know, saying back off, because they don't need saving or they don't need your help. And I think just going off like the idea of feminism itself and how men can, I think a lot of men are scared to identify with feminism purely because the phrase is very preferential towards female feminism, and it sounds like it's about females wanting to dominate the world or dominate over men. But that's not really what it is in most cases. It's seeking equality. So I'd encourage all men to not be scared to identify as a feminist.
Okay.
I shout out feminism.
All right, so I'm gonna attach this in the video, right? But we are like nearing something I like to call the uncanny valley.
Because of the uncanny valley. Let me show you something. Check out this chart. You see, as artificial representations of humans become more and more realistic, they reach a point where they stop being endearing and become creepy.
Tell it to me in Star Wars.
All right, we like R2-D2 and C-3PO.
They're nice.
And up here, we have a real person, like Han Solo.
He acts like he doesn't care, but he does.
But down here, we have a CGI stormtrooper or Tom Hanks in the Polar Express.
I'm scared. Get me out of there.
And that's the problem. You're in the valley now. and it's impossible to get out.
Where it's like, you know, there's like certain levels of like saying you're out with feminism, like, you know, you're with feminism, and then it's kind of like superficial, kind of like, you know, with the Black Squares thing when the Black Lives Matter movement happened, or Me Too in like in a certain way, because when Me Too happened, like everyone was out here saying that they weren't, like they were feminists and they believed in feminism, and then, you know, all of a sudden when Me Too isn't trending anymore, it's looking kind of suspect because my mandem is posting pictures and saying things online that are kind of sexist. But just a few months ago, he was saying he was with the feminists. So
Men are liking future tweets.
when Future was out here posting about 6 baby mamas, that guy got 100,000 different like likes on his tweets. So, you know, like how does it change? Because, you know, everything with Facebook is optics, right? Like, sorry, not Facebook, social optics. You know, if you appear to be doing something at the right time, like that's just what it looks like, you know, until something of significance happens again.
Yeah, man, totally. Like I saw a tweet about a white girl who was dating a black guy, and after they broke up, she took out Black Lives Matter from her bio. I was weak, bro.
Oh, yo, damn. That's crazy. All right, but yeah. But in regards to like just being openly feminist, like how do you avoid? I think my question to Bianca and everyone else is, hold on, wait, I just realized. Teresa, did you have a question?
No, Bianca said everything that I was going to say.
Oh, okay. So just to ask Bianca again, how do you avoid being like, you know, uncanny? Like how do you avoid kind of being like a fake feminist?
Yeah, how do you not make it corny?
Exactly.
I think if you enact change in your personal life rather than trying to appeal on social media, like often when people appeal too much on social media, it looks like you're just trying to impress an audience. But I think something like the, you know, household gap is still a big thing. For example, I know we're, you know, a bit too young to be talking about like domestic, you know, like the mother doing like the cooking and the cleaning and the dad coming home and not doing any of that, not participating in that. But I think it's definitely about personal choices and how you treat women in your private and personal life. And so it should be coming from within. It's just your attitude. It's not really about, for me, it's not really about how you're appearing on social media. That doesn't prove anything to me if you're not behaving like a feminist, so to speak, in person. That's just
Okay,
like
but
an image.
all right, sorry. But I think that also like depends on how you were brought up, because like I was raised in Africa, so like my house is full of gender roles, like really full of gender roles. My sisters were doing the dishes by like 13, 14. They started like doing the dishes with my mom, and like they would take turns to do the dishes. And like by that time, I was really like helping out my dad with like things that he'd do. So like you could tell that everyone had their role in the house. So like that's just how we were raised. So like I wouldn't necessarily say that these things are forced onto people. Like I'd like to say that that's just how some people were brought up, you know. Women in the kitchen and the men outside.
But why can't that change though?
Why can't that?
People were raised by racists, and then, you know, some of them do
Mhm.
turn out to be racist, and some of them are able to change their mentality. So why can that not change?
Okay, I
I
mean,
mean,
Des.
okay, go on, Tunde.
Okay,
Like, I'm not saying like okay.
you said
go,
go
Tunde.
on and then you went.
But then you said okay. I'm sorry. Go on.
All right, I'll say it quickly. I'm just gonna say, you know, just in regards to the very recent thing that's happened. You know, like, are we sure like the racists have necessarily changed? Because, you know, from like just testing the temperature, like I can tell you now, in Zimbabwe, which is a million miles away from anywhere else. And basically, in almost every other country I go to, you will always have liberals, you'll always have conservatives, and you will always have white people who just don't fuck with black people or any other minority, period. And, it's the same thing, like, kind of here. I remember a random example. I was coming in from the airport, and there was a lady that was doing my passport, and she took forever doing my passport. And then I asked the guy, "Hey, why is she taking so long?" She's like, "She's a woman. It's just like, it's just not her role." And obviously that's sexist, but like, to say like these can these roles really change is a hard question, because it doesn't seem like they do, given the passage of time. Culture and tradition and structure is just culture and tradition and structure. And if we've been going at these things for 100 years, it's very, very it's very hard to like identify how we can change them.
I feel like that was quite an identifiable moment of how that could change there when you were in the airport. Because what was your response to that guy saying that? Like, what did you, as a man, say to a fellow man when he was just like, yeah, it's because she's a woman? Did you like smile? Did you nod? Did you be like, okay, makes sense? Like, how did
Tunde, you bastard, you're an enabler.
Yeah.
I didn't enable. I said, "Sir, I don't think that's the case." And he was like, "It's fine. Go. You're being processed. Do you want to get in or not?" And I was like, "Hey, bro, I gotta get into the country now." So I was not gonna fight with my man.
You
about
enabling bastard.
Oh my God. Yeah, maybe. You know what? I probably am. But in that moment, like, I was like, no, let's have a discussion, because I was like, I didn't think what he said was right. Right. But this is like, my guy is working at the airport, and he probably has thought this about every single person he sees coming in. Right. It's like, the lady who does the passport is not going to be as fast as the guy who does the passport, right? And I don't think everyone passing through there has the time to give him the international opinion to change his mind. Am I making sense? Bianca,
Yeah,
the floor is yours.
you are making. Oh, Bianca, go ahead. Sorry, you are making sense.
Yeah, no, I think Tunda's making sense as well. But I just wanted to raise the idea again about what you were talking about, like, oh, we've been raised this way, it's always been a traditional thing, how are we meant to know better when we're older? And my question is, do you still follow all of the rules that your parents made when you were younger? Are you trying to say that you've never sort of done something that your parents wouldn't approve of, or like your parents wouldn't necessarily identify with?
Des has done a lot of things his parents wouldn't approve of.
Yeah.
I'm throwing Des this episode.
Well, obviously, like, when it's convenient to me, like, if my parents, they don't come back after midnight. If I want to come back after midnight, I'll come back after midnight. But like, at the same time, it's been drilled into me that, like, okay, if this is broken, you fix it. You get what I mean? I think, like, it for me and my family, it's just gonna be like that. But like, it's the people that come after us that have to change it.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, when you're older, when you're, already like a young adult, you do have the autonomy to make your own decisions outside of ones that your family maybe perhaps identifies with. And, us as young adults, we do have the right, and probably also the individualist mindset, to sort of hop out of our family traditions and our family ideas and educate ourselves from the world, right? And that's what makes us so knowledgeable about what's going on, is that we get knowledge from everywhere, from around us, and not just our family sphere, which we get when we're young, right? That's our habitus when we're small. But then we grow out of that eventually. I mean, at least we should, because that's how we get more knowledge from what surrounds us in the world.
Okay,
yeah,
so
I agree completely, because like, this is why we're having this discussion today. Just so that, like, we know what we're doing and what we're doing wrong. So like, yeah.
hold on.
I just wanted to go against, well, no, I was kind of for what Des was saying about gender roles because I also grew up in African context. And I guess I grew up washing dishes while my brother just sat down and said yes, you know. And I definitely found it unfair. And, you know, as one of the youngest women in the family, it's just something that I have to constantly face at family gatherings, and it's something that I'm constantly challenging. You know, like for Christmas, I got my male cousins to wash the dishes. You know, I didn't touch one dish, thank God. You know, and it's just stuff like that that I'm just like trying to get them to understand, because I think that with not only my family but a lot of people, it's just a lack of awareness. They just don't understand because it's not what they were brought up. Okay, Bianca wanted to say something.
Yeah, I was just bouncing off Teresa. Like, I completely agree with that. I think the older generation in general is less aware of like equality in the household. Like, I have the same example as you do. Like, in terms of family gatherings, it's always the women who do the dishes, who set up the table, who clean up. It's always and it's so natural, you know. It's not like it's unusual. It's completely normal, you know. It's never something like big or anything like that. It's really, yeah, it seems like a thing that has sort of been ingrained into a lot of families and a lot of households.
Yeah, I'm gonna just say that in most families and most households in this continent, I'd probably say that is generally the case. Not in my household and my family, because I am the only one who does the dishes. Only person. If it's just me and my mom, I'm the only one doing the dishes. My mom says to me, "Nigga, I pay for your school fees, so why the fuck am I supposed to do the dishes too? Feed yourself, wash your dishes." All right. We're gonna move on to the last question, and then we're gonna wrap this up. It's been really interesting so far. I've been glad to have you guys on. I think we've lost Des, but he knows what the password is, and he'll come back in if he needs to. So the last question is, what is wrong with feminism?
I think that, you know, that's tricky business because, I don't know, you're no longer dealing with institutions, you're dealing with people's perceptions and people's brains. So I'm perfectly cool with feminism. How I see it, I'm against radical feminism, if anything, and like, you know, just most white feminist groups. But I think that with understanding feminism, you just have to confront belief systems and irrational assumptions and force people to unlearn things that they've known for decades. And I think that's really, really hard to face for a lot of people.
I agree with you on that, because the question is what's wrong with feminism? And I agree with Teresa in that there are different kinds of feminisms and different, you know, things to take into consideration when you're talking about feminism, because I feel like it's quite a broad topic. So then I would ask you, as a man, as someone who came up with this question, what do you think is wrong with feminism?
So I want to ask Des to come on and answer this question with me. Des, what do we think is wrong with feminism?
What do you think is wrong with feminism?
Yeah, like let's
okay.
try avoid mentioning that. You know, it's obviously designed to take away every privilege and advantage in society that we have over women. Because if we're being honest, that is kind of like the quid pro quo, if you were to call it that. Is that like, hey, you don't realize how nice privilege is until you don't have it. So you start and I'll follow up.
Okay. My main problem with feminism is, in the beginning, right? I said that it's so in your face. It's like, it's so anal, right? I think my problem is we don't have like a proper idea of like actual feminism, because like I've been exposed to feminism online, but I still don't know what it is. I just know that it's so like, you know, and I haven't been taught about feminism. You get what I mean? So like at the same time, I'm being told that I'm wrong. but I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Like, so it's like so like I'm in a game that I can't win. You know what I mean? So like, yeah, and like there's some things that I really don't agree with, like equal pay in sports. I'm sorry, that's just something I can never like actually agree with until like there's equal input. You get what I mean?
Wait, hold up. Are you saying that like women and men shouldn't get equal pay because women don't input enough?
Okay,
No, that's not what I'm
give an
saying.
example
That's not at all what
to
I'm saying.
defend? Oh, sorry.
Oh, okay.
Can I defend Dez's point very quickly? Dez.
Yeah, go ahead. I feel like I didn't say it right.
All right. So I think what Dez is trying to say, maybe in regards to women's sport in particular, right? Let's take football for example, because most popular sport in the world, right? The women's football team in the States, 100% should be paid more than the men, because the record compared to the men is like fucking terrible. All right. The women's team has won 4 World Cups. They won more games in their last World Cup than the men's team did in their last 4. All right. So the input from women on football in the States is significantly more. So they 100% should be paid more than those players, like no doubt. But I think what Dez is talking about is that just getting equal pay that's disproportionate to your input. So, for instance, let's just like if we were to talk about the WNBA, all right? It's not that those players are not good and they're not skilled and they don't deserve to get paid.
Yeah.
They deserve to get paid a good amount of money to live off and have like a good job and shit. But do they deserve more money than the NBA players? That's a hard thing.
Really.
What do you think equal pay is? Because you're saying more money. Equal pay means equal pay, the same pay. That is what it means.
Okay, but like, let me like try and like bring this across a way that I understand, right? The average viewers for the World Cup, right, for men is significantly higher than for women. Right? If the men get paid more than the women, right, it only makes sense because there's more people watching, right? I mean, that's where the money comes from people watching the sport, tuning in, broadcast
Okay, then
fees,
your first
sponsorship
point was
fees.
then stupid and invalid because you said it's not.
Yeah, I said input, right?
Yeah, it is the same input.
Yeah,
However,
when I meant input, I meant like financial input.
as I was saying, because you said the input is not the same, so they shouldn't be paid the same. However, I disagree because, like you said, male sports, I feel like in general, are watched more than female ones. But then I feel like the effort is the same because they're playing the same game. However, like men are being watched more. So, I mean, the input is the same.
Yeah. Okay. I think I used the wrong word in terms of input. Right? What I meant was the financial income, from the men's game to the women's game is significantly higher. Is different, not the input, because obviously they work as hard as each other because like they're professional athletes, so they need to be at a certain level. So yeah, input was the wrong choice of words. I apologize.
All right. So Teresa, Bianca, did you want to say something, by the way? Because I saw your hand up as well.
I think I lost my point. Teresa, do you want to go ahead for now?
Yeah. I think we're talking about, I'd say, more unrealistic jobs. Like, of course, lots of people work in these fields, but I think we need to focus more on, like, what about office jobs? Someone that sits in the opposite cubicle from me gets paid more than me. That's absolutely ridiculous. I think that's what should be focused
on. Okay.
Can I say something on that?
Yeah. Go.
Um, Let me step away from input income for a second because I watched a movie on women getting sexually harassed at the workplace, and can I just say that that really like it was a shock to me because like I didn't really think about all these things that women go through. So yeah, I guess you don't really know about these things until you look into them.
All right. Also, just to also try and save Dez's reputation after he used the choice of words input, I think you're just to help you out a little bit. You're perfectly down with if women do like let's just say an ordinary job, right? An ordinary job that any man can do. It's like they deserve equal pay. There should be no reason why they don't get paid. Yes.
Yeah,
All right.
I
But
mean,
you're just
I don't see the problem if it's not like if there's no like argument like there is in sports, then there's no issue at all.
okay. Because with sports, it's very, very different because we're talking like major
Yeah,
big money. So it's like, I think when we discuss athletes, we got to be very careful because, like, the women
Okay,
do
but
make less money, but it is like, it is important to understand, like, they're still performing a certain job at a very high level and they do get compensated for it. All right,
mm,
so we got to move on from sports like immediately because unless I'm not necessarily sure that it's the most inclusive discussion right now. So now other way like wait are we done? I'm just starting to realize because I don't know unless anyone else has something they want to say about what they think is wrong with feminism. I think we can wrap this up.
Wait, no, I had a point.
All right.
I think that something that's wrong with feminism is that like there's all these types of groups. There's so much segregation when it comes to feminism. One group is rushing to move forward, but for example, race issues are still holding another group back. I think that there's this huge divide between women. Um, that's just not really being included. Especially, I guess, within the Black community, there's this whole debate on colorism instead of kind of fighting to um, combat it. I'd say, there's this huge fight between Black women, like of lighter skin and darker skin. So like I think these are the things that need to be, um, I guess, for lack of better wording, sorted out in order to move forward.
Also,
mm.
while we're on that topic, please look at the bonus episode of the Basement Podcast on colorism. That is out now and on all platforms. Anyway, just after I've quickly plugged myself, um, c- anything else anyone wants to say about what is wrong with feminism, and then we will close up.
Yeah, just to like bounce off of what Teresa said, I think like especially radical feminism really propagates themselves on media very, very prominently. And it's very easy to sort of misinform yourself or get sort of the wrong idea or a very like one-sided idea of what feminism is and what the scope of it is based on radical feminist ideas, which are very much out there and they do take up a lot of, so how do you say this, like space on the internet. So I think
Mhm.
one thing is there is definitely an unequal propagation of the different kinds of feminism. As Teresa said, it's not really that much spoken about, like these different forms, and people often misinform themselves and scare themselves away from feminism because radical feminism is so much very coming on very strongly, especially in the media.
So I have one question about radical feminists that I just want to like. It's open for all three of you, but I'm mainly asking it to Bianca because you brought it up. Would you say that radical feminists are like a small but vocal minority? Right? Are they like the people who watched Star Wars: The Last Jedi and then bitched about Luke Skywalker not liking the Force? Are they like that small group of people who just say the most, but like they're not actually doing shit?
I I don't know, you see, because I'm not I don't identify with that group, but what I do know is there are many rumors of how radical feminism came to be. So there are some suggestions that it was made up by a group of white men to scare men away from identifying with feminism. But that is an unconfirmed fact. What I would say is radical feminism comes on very strong. They have protests, right? And they're very vocal. Again, that doesn't mean that they're a large group, as you say. However, I don't know exact numbers, but what I know is their voice is definitely very strong, right? So they really try to get their point across in many, many ways that can sort of double their numbers through that voice.
All right.
Oh my God, I actually had a really good question that I just remembered just now.
All right, come on.
I was gonna ask about female rappers, right? You guys are definitely against objectifying women, right? How do you feel about female rappers, with their waps and their whatnot? Isn't that objectifying women in a way? Or is it, just part of them expressing themselves? I don't know.
They are embracing their sexuality in that. You specifically said WAPs, and I would say they're embracing their sexuality because, like you said, like this is a issue. Like when women talk about sex and themselves and their sexuality, is just like, oh my gosh, what is she doing? She's embracing it. Like she's not objectifying herself. I don't believe she's embracing herself because if when she does, it's seen, or when men do, it's seen as objectifying, but when she does, why is it a question? It is her body, no?
True. Also, just on that point, I just wanted to add that, men talk about sex in rap all the time.
Never too much. Yeah, she sucking my dick. She eat it for lunch. Yeah, I hit from the back. I'm beating it up.
And ever since Uncle Luke and the Two Live Crew, avoided those obscenity charges in like the 1990s or 80s, one of those two. In the 1990s or 80s, men have been able to say whatever they want about women on records for the longest time. So if women want to do it to women, then it's their choice. Legally, it's legally permissible in court. So yeah, that's the big thing. So anyway, closing statements, people. Closing statements. Let's wrap this up because I guarantee you, people will not be listening to us for this long.
All right, let me close it up. Thanks for listening to this episode of The Basement. This is a special episode. This is the first time I will not be censored, I think. I hope.
We probably gonna have to give you like one or two.
Yeah, maybe a couple. I don't know. But thanks for tuning in. Hopefully see you next time. Probably won't. But cheers.
Cheers from Dez. I would just like all of our lovely guests, Teresa, Bianca, and Tushel, to just say, I just want to say to you, thank you. And if you guys could send us out with a goodbye, that'd be great.
Yeah, thanks.
No, thank you guys for having me. It was really, really nice. I would do this again. It was really lovely. The debate was nice. But yeah, thank you guys for having me. Yeah.
Thank you guys for having me as well. It was really, really interesting debate, and I really enjoyed listening to all of your views. And yeah, thanks for everyone listening.
Thanks for having me. I really urge everyone that's listening to this to have these conversations in real life as well, as they definitely will change.
All right. Well, then in that case, thank you for listening to this episode of
The Basement.